Coming up on Network Africa. Somali militants kill 15 people, including female MP, in suicide bombing. Human Rights Watch says children among victims of Ethiopian airstrike in Tigray in January. Plus, Director of Africa's Centers for Disease Control warns that COVID-19 is still here, urges people on the continent to get vaccinated. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale. We begin today in Somalia, where at least 15 people, including a female member of the Somali Federal Parliament, has been killed in 2 suicide bombings in Beledweyne town in central Somalia. Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble has termed the killing of Amina Mohamed Abdi an assassination. Other victims include former MP Hassan Duho and Somali soldiers. According to reports, the death toll could be higher. The attack occurred hours after al-Shabaab militants killed at least 8 people, including 5 foreign nationals, in an assault on the Halani camp, a fortified airport complex that houses UN offices and foreign missions. Al-Shabaab militants have intensified attacks across Somalia as a Horn of Africa nation conducts much delayed elections. And elsewhere in East Africa, non-governmental organization Human Rights Watch says Ethiopia's armed forces killed more than 50 civilians in an airstrike in the northern region of Tigray in January. HRW says 50 others were injured when a drone dropped bombs on a school compound housing thousands of people displaced by fighting. Most of the victims were women, children and elderly people sleeping in makeshift tents. HRW also accuses Ethiopia of committing war crime because there were no military targets in the area. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus says Tigrayans are starving to death and says so far only 4% of the needs for health supplies have been delivered to the region. He calls on the Ethiopian government to allow more access to the region so WHO officials can deliver life-saving assistance.
Last week, I spoke about the humanitarian disaster in Tigray, and that WHO is still waiting for permission to send an additional 95 metric tons of medical supplies. Since then, permission has been granted. If we can deliver these supplies safely, they will help people in desperate need. But much more is needed. So far, only 4% of the needs for health supplies have been delivered to Tigray. That is insignificant. The region has been under siege for almost 500 days, with dire shortages of fuel and food. People are starving to death. Actually, giving them food is more important than medicine. We continue to call on Ethiopia and Eritrean governments to end the blockade.
Still in East Africa, former Zambian Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malangi has been arrested for alleged money laundering activities. The authorities say Mr. Malangi was arrested for owning a hotel suspected to be bought by proceeds of crime. He's also suspected to have procured a helicopter, $700,000 from proceeds of crime. Mr. Malangi has previously denied the allegations. He was arrested by the Anti-Money Laundering Unit of Zambia's Drug Enforcement Commission, becoming the second ex-minister to be arrested in a week after former Justice Minister Given Lubinda, who was charged on Tuesday. Zambian journalist Alexander Musokotwane joins us now from Lusaka for more on this. Alex, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Right, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it.
So, second arrest of an ex-minister in a week. It does seem the authorities are coming down hard on corruption, doesn't it?
Well, coming hard, they are, and I mean, it was expected following the change of government last year in August 2021. There was an assurance to the Zambian people, and most experts do believe that maybe that's why the government, the current government, that's the United Party for National Development, UPND administration, might have won the last year's elections because of the promise they had made that they'll clamp down on suspected corruption. There was widespread belief then last year and just last 7 years ago. I mean, the last 7 years, or rather, that there has been rampant corruption in those holding high offices in the Patriotic Front, the former government. So the arrests that are happening now is nothing new, and I think it's not a huge surprise considering that it was promised. And the good part is that even the leaders in the Patriotic Front, now in opposition, the people that we might consider being targeted, are not surprised, and they feel that it's high chance that this title of corrupt government might be gotten away, because now there's a platform that they have to explain themselves on how they might have gotten this rich, how they are managing to purchase properties which the law enforcement officers are saying that could be proceeds of crime.
Well, you know, it's quite interesting. Is there any word on who could be next in this wave of arrests?
I can get you, please.
Yeah, is there any word on who could be next in this wave of arrests?
Who could be next? No one knows. We cannot suspect, we cannot assume, but the promises from the law enforcement officers, the Drug Enforcement Commission, the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Zambia Police, and the Joint Investigative Wings, they've continued updating the nation that the investigations continue, and any person who is suspected to have committed a crime under the previous government should be ready to be asked questions. And the vice president, that's Mutarena Lumango, on several times in parliament has asked former leaders, former ministers, former senior government officials who are not serving, and those who might have gotten a bit of more cash from the Zambian coffers to seek government's attention and more of an amnesty, that they should return the money, and the agreement might be made. We don't know which agreement was, but just to get you back, just last year, there was a time the joint government agencies did pounce on one of the Zambian, that's a senior, a veteran journalist, of course, turned business lady. They had gotten a lot of money from her, and there was an exchange, an amnesty that you return this money, nothing will happen. And so far, nothing has happened. The money was returned to the state just early this year. The money was donated to the Ministry of Education in support of the bursaries. So the arrest might be coming, but we cannot point on who's going to be next.
And let's speak about, you know, the former Justice Minister. We know that on Tuesday, Lubinda was charged. Speak to us about that.
Yes, the former Justice Minister, that's the current acting president of the Patriotic Front, was also arrested on corruption allegations. There have been hints that he'll be picked, and I think just some weeks ago he did dare the law enforcement officers to come and arrest him and prove to the Zambian people that he has not stolen anything. I mean, this is in connection with thousands of dollars in his account. As to explain, they are tagging it as proceeds of crime. So now there will be an opportunity for him to explain. A number of officials, I mean, the Patriotic Front, then as ruling party now in opposition, have already stated that we need to clear this name, because the tag that has been created for the many Patriotic Front officials is that every time they flaunt their properties or riches, everyone now believes that this could have been stolen at the time they were in government. So it's a two-way thing. Once they are arrested, they also feel happy that it's time to prove. But time will tell. Let's see how the wheels of justice will turn and whether the public perception and opinion is that they were corrupt and stole a lot of money from the Zambian people.
Time will definitely tell, Alex. And then, let's talk about the president. When he was elected in 2021, he promised to fight corruption and recover state assets and a lot of, other things. How has he fared so far? How do Zambians rate him so far?
Well, it attracts political debate. There is another group of Zambians that are saying that there is that slow approach. I mean, it's 8 months since they were elected into office, and they feel, others feel that there is slow approach. The wheels of justice are slowly turning to ensure that the acts of corruption and the allegations of corruption are meted out. Others do say that, well, it is a slow process. It's a complex matter. They should be given more time to arrest and to ensure that the corruption allegations that were made when they were in government are brought to book. So it's a two-way thing, and those from government keep telling us every day, updating us that well, you might feel that we're not doing much, but we know what we're doing. There's proper evidence. We need to ensure that every time that we come across a case, it is well investigated. I mean, they're taking this from the past, the precedents that has been happening in the last few years in this country, where the law enforcement officers just rush and arrest a senior government officials or an ex-government official, and in the end, they walk to freedom. Maybe we cannot believe that they're trying to ensure that they do their master art of ensuring that investigations are properly done, witnesses are brought forward, and so that when the case starts, they do believe that they have something strong to ensure that they apply a fair justice aspect to all those that are accused of having gotten wealth.
All right, then, Alex, thank you so much for the update.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And to health matters now, the head of Africa's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says although the continent might be seeing low infection and death rates from the COVID-19, the virus is still here. Speaking at the Africa CDC's weekly briefing, Dr. John Nkengasong says the only way to eradicate the virus is for populations to be vaccinated. Africa has been struggling to get its population of about 1 billion vaccinated against COVID-19, with some regions having vaccination rates in the single digits. But the continent's top health agency says by the end of 2022, at least 70% of Africans will be vaccinated.
The only way that you get rid of this virus, which should be our ultimate goal, would be to eradicate this virus. I mean, is to get the vaccinated up to about 70%. What the analogy of not doing that is like you have a burning bush, and you put up the fire to an extent, then you say, okay, well, I've put up majority of the fire, still have just this little pockets of fire there. That little fire there may become a wildfire very, very soon. I think that is what we are dealing with here. So I think we should continue to strive to get to 70%. It is not either or. It's not like we should deviate resources to only get the vaccination to 70% and neglect HIV, TB, and malaria, which should be tackling these diseases simultaneously. Those are the challenges of our time, and the challenges of our time must be dealt. Each generation have their own challenges to deal with, and we cannot walk away from the challenges of our time. I think that is very, very clear. It's been obvious to us, to all of us as a global community, that we have to fight this fight, and we live in
an age of pandemic. And I think that is, I mean, it's also true with Ebola. During this pandemic, over the last 2 years, we've been able to fight Ebola in DRC and in Guinea. So one pandemic doesn't finish before you get another outbreak there.
Still to come on the program. Ghanaian skateboarder follows her dream, teaches other girls in the country to ride. More details in a moment. Please stay with us.
It's a sign of the times. A reflection of conversations from the streets to the home.
Thanks for staying with us. Health authorities in Malawi are currently responding to the wild polio virus type 1 outbreak after a single case was detected in the country. A vaccination campaign targeting children under 5 years old began this week and is ongoing. Vaccinators have spread out across the country, including outside of Malawi cities, to reach potentially vulnerable children. In total, over the next 4 months, more than 23 million young children across southern Africa will be offered vaccinations against the virus.
Malawi rolled out the first round of a mass oral polio vaccine campaign for children under the age of 5 this week. The exercise is as a result of an outbreak of wild polio virus type 1 that paralyzed a 3-year-old child in the capital Lilongwe in February. It was the country's first case of wild polio in 30 years, and the first in Africa since the region was certified free of indigenous wild polio virus in 2020. So far, only 1 case has been detected in Lilongwe.
Polio is a deadly disease that endangers the future of our children. The only protection from polio is the polio vaccine.
Responding to the call, women brought their children for immunization on Sunday.
I made the choice to get my kid vaccinated against polio because I do not want my child to be at the risk of paralysis.
I have come here in order to get another vaccine because I want to protect my child from getting paralyzed.
More than 80 million doses will be administered to more than 23 million children under 5 years in the 4-round vaccination drive in 5 southern African countries. Over the next 4 months, vaccines will be offered to children across Malawi and in Mozambique, Tanzania, Zambia and Zimbabwe. The World Health Organization, the United Nations Children's Fund and the Global Polio Eradication Initiative are involved in this immunization drive.
It marks the launch of the first round of the polio immunization campaign. It's the first of 4 rounds. It's a nationwide campaign. It's targeting all under 5s in Malawi. And it's really a race to get ahead of the polio outbreak. And this is really important for Malawi, but also important for the region.
In order to make sure that no child gets left behind, the campaign will also target rural areas with scanty health services.
We have to vaccinate all children. Polio is a disease that we are very close to eradicating. So if we don't eradicate it and attack it here in Malawi, it will have impacts on neighboring countries. So already now, in the neighboring districts of Mozambique, of Zambia, of Tanzania, there will be polio campaigns. And that's very important because it's not only a national health concern, it's a regional concern, and it's actually also an international concern. And that's why it is so special that together we have started this very quick and efficient response.
Polio is a highly infectious disease that invades the nervous system and can cause total paralysis within hours. It can be passed from one person to another through ingestion of food or water contaminated with the feces of an infected person or with other bodily fluids. Doctors say children under 5 are more susceptible to the disease. While there is no cure, it can be prevented by vaccine.
South Sudan's President Salva Kiir sacked the country's health minister, according to a decree announced by state media. No reasons were given for the firing of Elizabeth Yole. She's the first cabinet minister from the party of the first vice president, Riek Machar, the Sudan People's Liberation in opposition, to be dismissed from the unity government. President Kerr and Mr. Machar formed the unity government in February 2020 after sealing a peace deal aimed at ending 6 years of civil war. During her tenure, Ms. Yor was praised by her health partners for the country's response to the COVID-19. But she also faced criticism for her handling of the ministry's affairs, which saw her booed by MPs in December during a presentation in Parliament. The MPs urged Mr. Machar to recommend her for her dismissal over what they described as incompetence. Egypt has asked for help from the IMF as the government struggles to deal with the impact of the war in Ukraine. As the world's biggest importer of wheat, Egypt relies heavily on grain from Ukraine and Russia. This week, it set a fixed price for unsubsidized bread with the aim of controlling rising food prices due to the disruption to the wheat supply caused by the war. Its tourism sector has also suffered a further setback after 2 years of problems linked to the pandemic. Earlier this week, the government in Cairo allowed the currency to devalue. The IMF praised recent economic relief measures announced by the Egyptian authorities. And finally on the program, let's head over to Ghana to meet 27-year-old Harmony Bataka, who quit a bank job a year ago to follow her passion of skateboarding. Despite objections from her family, she and some other enthusiasts have opened Ghana's first skateboarding park exclusively for women and girls, who have quickly established a tight-knit community.
A year ago, Harmony Bakata quit a banking job to pursue a love of skateboarding. Her family objected. Skateboarding is not a popular sport in West Africa and is often regarded as a male sport.
I enjoyed skateboarding, like every bit of it, you know, and it made me feel really, really good. And I had like saved some money up, you know, from work. So I decided that even though I wasn't having any sort of income at the moment, I just wanted to like be free and then, you know, do what I love. Sometimes I feel like it's really necessary and it's really important. Otherwise, this world will break you, you know.
But Bakata wouldn't swerve from her passion. The 27-year-old lived off her savings while she and other local skateboarders built Ghana's first skate park. The Freedom Skate Park was completed in December with support from Wonders Around the World, an NGO that builds skate parks in developing countries, and the late Louis Vuitton designer Virgil Abloh, whose parents were Ghanaian immigrants. It was also coordinated by local extreme sports collective Surf Ghana. Through them, Bakata, who previously didn't know any female skateboarders, discovered the Skate Girl Club.
Back then, I felt like I mean, I only knew me as the only girl who was skating, so it was kind of a bit, you know. But after I saw other girls, I was like, oh, okay, so it's good now. I mean, I can practice with them and all that. So it encouraged me to continue. And when we would have meetings, it was just more than skateboarding, you know. We would like talk about other things, mental health, cooking, you know, gardening and all those things. And I really felt comfortable, and that's what Skate Girl Club is all about.
Today, Bakata teaches her passion to other women and girls, including Lila. Despite having only skated for a few months, the 4-year-old has already conquered one of the park's biggest ramps. Her mother, Miriam, says it's important for girls to see each other doing sports largely associated with boys.
It's also good to just have a place for the girls to, you know, to have examples of each other, to take examples from each other, you know, because I guess as a girl, you see everything. You see boys doing everything. You know, boys are good skaters, boys are footballers, boys. And she even told me last time, like, oh, as a girl, can I do this? Or as a girl, can I do that? I was like, yes, Mama, you can do anything. Like, literally, that's one thing I keep telling her every day. You can do anything.
Just 17% of the world's weekly skateboarders were women in 2018, according to data from Grandview Research. Bakata hopes women-only sessions at the skate park will encourage Ghanaian women to give it a go.
I'm just really happy that there's a lot of girls who want to try. Even if they don't want to continue, at least they're willing to try, you know, because I feel like you should try. And then if it doesn't work for you, then at least you tried. But I don't want people to just sit there and not try, you know, and be like, oh no, I don't think it's for me yet. Just try it.
She says the lessons she's learned are priceless, that through effort and commitment, you'll see results, and that you should never give up.
Amazing message. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tenny Ola Shobowale. Bye for now.